Hello everyone, this is Mark again, and in the Anycubic Photon S, testing the Photon S with a larger print, I decided to find a piece of art, and Antonio Canova was just the sculptor to deliver this for me. This sculpture can be found. This sculpture can be found at the Louvre in Paris, France. So I'm going over here on how I prepared that. So what I did here is I went to over to the website Myminifactory, and they have a great Scan the World program. And this is a program where people have went through and scanned great artwork around the world, and they have it available in STL format on their website here. Thank you, Mini Maker Factory. So I found this one to be very interesting, a lot of detail. Really was interested with how these wings were going to turn out. A lot of detail in the wings. So I went over and I downloaded that STL file. And I'll show you how I prepared it right here. After I downloaded it, I went into Mesh Mixer and opened up Mesh Mixer, and that's where I'm going to adjust the size, and I'm also going to adjust the hollow it out and just kind of prepare it for putting into the Photon paperwork or software. So you can see it right here. Opening Mesh Mixer. Sorry, it's 12:30 at night here, and I'm a bit tired, so I'm a little slurry on the words. But so what I had already did this and printed it before I made this video, so I'm just kind of showing you a mock-up of how I prepared that. And I'm not actually saving the files we're going to mock up because the printing actually turned out great. And if I'm not so successful the second time, I definitely don't want to save those files over it. So what I did was I went in here and I just opened up that STL file into Mesh Mixer. Um, and you can see it's loading up here. A couple times during the video, when I know something's going to take a while to process, I'll hit the pause button and then come back. The Mesh Mixer is there's a lot going on with it, and it bogs down this tired computer I have quite a bit. So please bear with me. Here's the file here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the file, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to adjust the size. I'm going to transform it. You can see that it gives you different sizes, classifications there. And so what I did here was I changed it into inches first, being from California. That's what I relate to easiest. And then secondly, I figured that I'd just go with the largest diameter on this model is going to be or the smallest would be the width. And so what I did was I picked the smallest diameter on the printer and I just put it at 2 inches. So I knew that would fit on my build plate. And then I went through here and I'm going to rotate it. And since I'm still learning on what I'm doing here, I think I test every other, I rotate every axis except for the Z axis, but sooner or later I find it. So just bear with me here. I think it's the X we wanted to rotate. So we're going to go here and we'll give the X, the last one, a try at 45. It'll kick up. Perfect. Why don't we put that at 90 and get it exactly how we need it? So we're going to print this up and down, being that it's such a large model, I wanted to hollow it out. And I used a method that Angus from Maker's Muse YouTube channel, he showed me on how to hollow out this model as well as I could. And so I'm going to hollow out that big rock on the bottom there. So we're not using a ton of resin for one, and secondly, I think it'll work out a little bit better with the print. Being clear resin, I should be able to get it through on the bodies into the hollow. We'll see how that goes. So what I did here was I chose the face groups, generated face groups for it. Then I'm going to select the bottom face group on the bottom of the model there, select, and then I'll shrink down the pointer there as much as possible. I'll just double click on that base to select the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll let it catch up there. You can see it selected, it's brown. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over and I'm going to extrude that base down a little bit. The base was transform it, and I'm just going to drag it down. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me a nice base, so when I hollow it out, I'll have something I can just come and clean cut off. So the idea being is instead of putting holes in the bottom that I might have uncured resin leaking out of for a while, which is kind of not the best case scenario, I'll cut the entire bottom of this model off and leave it just hollow, and that'll save me a bunch of resin. And with a model that you can have a flat bottom like this one, which is the flat bottom makes it a perfect scenario for hollowing out, which I'm going to do here. I'm going to hit hollow, and then you'll see it go through the process right now of hollowing out the center of this model. And I think I pause it for a second while we're doing this so it takes a little bit less time. But what it's doing, it's hollowing out the center of the model right now, so we could use less resin, and it kind of makes more sense when you're at $70 a jar for resin. So you can see the white parts there. That's the hollowed out parts of the model. I'm going to change the thickness of the walls, the top setting there down to right around 0.05. And that's what Angus had did, and it still has plenty of thickness to the walls of the outside of these models, but you don't need it so thick that you can take a hammer to it. So I click that. It's going to go through the process again of hollowing it out to the new thickness. And you can see right there the white parts are the hollowed out centers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and now I'm going to cleanly cut off the bottom of this model, the part that I extruded, not cutting any of the section of the actual model out here. The top right there is kind of how you'll get your different views. I like the ortho view. It gives you a nice clean shot there. Push down on the middle button on your mouse, and that'll allow you to move the entire model, and then just get a nice flat view of it, looking at your model. And then change that over now to the plate cut. Plate cut that, oopsie donkey, plate cut. And then you'll see if you just pull down on that one there, while you're pulling down, if you want to press the up or down arrow, if that's going to widen out the scale of how far it's going to go at a time. But I think we dropped right pretty much exactly where we want to be, right about there on where we want to cut it. And so once we have it exactly where we want it, that's not where we want it. I just wanted to show you guys one more time here. So what we'll do is we'll drop it down where we want it, and we like it. Then we're going to cut. We'll just go over here and cut it right here on the left. Hit that, and then now look underneath what we have. Ooh, a nice hollowed out model with the bottom cut off. So this should sit nicely on a plate or a display, or however you want to display this model. I think it might be cool to put a little light underneath it, if I'm going to leave it clear, and see how that looks. And so then I'm going to save this file right here. And you can see that I had already saved the one that we talked about earlier that I've already printed that worked out good. So I'm not going to resave over it. But you would just save that finished STL file out of Mesh Mixer. And then once I have that saved, I'm going to open up the Photon software, the Photon workshop that comes with the Photon S. And now we're going to import the file into the Photon workshop software. And then what I want to do is once I have that in here, that's not the right one, that's a different file. That was actually a Photon file. You can see the slices. I need to find my STL file, and there it is, hollowed out. And so I'm going to load that one right into my Photon. And for some reason, when you transfer it from Mesh Mixer over here, the scale pins it down to a little bug on the plate. So I found that it's real simple just to click on it and then change the scale. And I just multiplied it by 10, and that kind of put it, I think, where you want it. But you can see your build plate there. And so if you play with that a little bit, it's going to allow you to see, okay, in this one, the Anycubic Photon S, testing the Photon S with a larger print, we wanted to put something of size on this build plate so really we can challenge this Photon S and see what we could really get out of it. And so that looks kind of like a better size here. So we'll rotate that thing around, and we'll see how that fills out the space here a little bit better. And someday I'll learn what axis you want to rotate, but I think I hit it on the first one there. So you can see there on the build plate, it's a pretty good size there. You can see the hollowness of the model there, really cool. But I think I wanted to just blow it up a little bit bigger, scale it just a little larger. I think I remember that I have to click on the model first. Okay, until it turns gold. Once you click on it, it's gold. Now you can scale it up. So I think I'm going to go to 45 there just to get it a little bit larger and a little bit more challenging. And so right now we're working on that. We're just getting it where we want to get it size-wise until we find something we like. And then we're going to go in here and we're going to add some supports to this model. Ooh, like that. I think in the final version that I actually printed, though, I printed it larger than that. It's probably, I don't know, another inch larger. So that looks closer to the size that I printed it at. I didn't want to go super, super tall, but I did want to challenge the size and figure out if I filled up that build plate, what it could really do. And so now I'm clicking on the support options. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on fill instead of platform, so that'll fill out supports throughout the center of the model and also the bottom. It'll also raise that model off the build plate, and it'll put supports underneath it. And then you can see here the automatic supports are filling in right now. It's just going to go through its little program to fill in the automatic supports. And so far I found this Photon has put out really good software here. I haven't changed any of the slicing settings and very few of the support settings, and it does a pretty darn good job so far. So what I have been doing is adding some of my own supports, going through the models and just looking for spots that need some supports. I'm coming back here, like I said, to make this video, and I've already printed this model. And one thing I could tell you is I'm going to have to work out a better way to put supports like on the face here of both of these two, and some of the more intricate internal spots on this model. I had a really hard time getting in there with the clippers and with the X-Acto knife and getting all the support out of the center of this model. So that's one thing you want to think about, is you're going to have to go and get all those little green lines out of this model after you're done. And once they start to harden a little bit, they get pretty complicated to get out of there. So as we move on down the road here and continue on this journey, maybe some of you could help me out in the comment section, or just throw some links in there to somebody that does a really good job of putting supports in where they're needed. And one thing I found that was hard for me is that I want to be able to add the automatic supports, but then I couldn't find a way to just go in and remove the automatic supports that I didn't want in different areas, or edit them. I could do that with the manual supports that I placed in myself, but not with the automatic ones. So if anybody knows a better way of doing it, please let me know. Like I said, all the slicer settings are the default settings. And until I start running into issues, I'm going to leave them at the default settings, and we'll go from there. So now what I'm doing is I put all the supports on here. Sorry, the end of that video cut off, but what I did was I sliced that file in the software for the Photon, and then I saved that sliced file, put it on a thumb drive, and then took it out to the garage to print it. Okay, we are going to start our second print now, our actual third print, not counting the test. And this is going to be a much larger print. So last time we cleaned out the vat here, so we're going to fill it back up. We're also going to put in the new print that we had. And so let's get our test gear on, our safety gear. Let's open this up. I see something down in here. Make sure there's nothing caught up in here. Let's pull this out. Make sure it's clean. It looks pretty good. Screen looks nice and clean. We're going to push that back all the way against the guards, the stoppers, and we'll just screw it down in here one by one real slowly. Nice and tight. And we're going to use the Anycubic green resin that came with the printer. We're still using this. There's quite a bit here, and we've gotten some really nice models so far off of this have printed. Here's the test. We also printed this miniature here, which turned out nicely. So we will use the rest of this, and then we're going to go over. I had purchased some more of the green. Really like how that comes out there. We can primer it if we want to paint it, or they're really pretty awesome transparent little green here. So let me adjust this so we're not, so we get a good shot here. And let's go. Let's see what we can do here. We're going to fill this up. There's a very small line that sits right above the bevel change of oh, you know what I'm doing? Breaking the rules right here. Before you ever open up that resin, you want to make sure you have your gloves on, because that stuff is real toxic. There we go. And like Angus had said over on Maker's Muse, you want to buy a big box of these gloves because you go through them quite a bit. They're single use. So I have my gloves on, my goggles on, I have paper towels close by in case something happens. So we're just going to open this up now. And Another thing I like to use here, this plastic painting insert seems to be a real nice little unit to keep in front of this so we don't get anything dirty. Then we'll just fill this right up to, I've shaken it up really well now. We'll fill it right up to that line there that we had set up. It's right above that, right there is the sweet spot. Oh, you know what, we're a little shy still of it. It's hard to see. There we go. You don't want this to be too full. There's these screws on top of the build plate. This thing will get up all up in there, and you definitely don't want it up where that ball is there. You're going to end up having problems. Have to do a lot of cleaning to get that all done. So we want to just keep everything super clean here as we go. Better than having to go back and clean it all up and being so toxic. So we have this plate now where we want it. We have it filled up. I'm going to turn the printer on. I'm going to close this up now. And I took this model off of Myminifactory that we're going to print here. And it's some scans they did at the Louvre, and this is one that was really interesting, and so it's a lot bigger. This is going to be a challenge here. The last one model that we printed was a little tiny miniature at 28 millimeters. This is going to take up most of the build plate, so I went in and followed the instructions from Angus over at Maker's Muse on how to hollow out this model on Mesh Mixer. So I've hollowed this model out, and then I went in and I added quite a bit of support on it through the Photon software to get it to where it needs to be, and hopefully this will work out good and it sits tight on this build plate. I'm going to stick in this USB that has that file on it, that Photon slice file. Everything looks good. Let's print this, and this is the file right here. This is going to be a great big file, and let's print this guy. So we've started the print now, and let's cross our fingers as I always do. Hope this prints well. We're also going to clean up this miniature that we printed yesterday, get that all cleaned up, also supports off it, sand it up, and see how that turns out. So hopefully this sits down at the right level in this resin. I wish they had a stronger line cut into the tray so you could really see where the resin is supposed to go up to. That looks pretty good so far, so it's pretty high, but I think we might be okay. Okay guys, we're back now. We are going to pull this model out of the printer here. We're going to do a little cleanup on it, and then we're going to start the curing process. So I'll walk you through all of that. First things first, we want the goggles and some gloves. And these ones I just had on for a second, doing a little chipping up some glass print, so they're not contaminated yet, so we can reuse these guys. So this print has been sitting here. I think it finished 2 nights ago, and so it should be ripe and ready to pull out of here. I watched another video yesterday that showed somebody, and they were actually cleaning the model up and removing the support off of it prior to curing it with the UV lights. And I thought we'd give it a try on this one. I guess that the resin is a little bit more pliable, a little softer, so it doesn't snap at you, and it doesn't give you as much chance of damaging the model. So let's give that a try. So the first thing we're going to do, I opened up the printer. I'm going to put down a paint tray here. It's just a cheap plastic paint tray from, I think, Home Depot. Have my gloves on. I don't have any kind of breathing apparatus. I have a respirator, but I found that the resin from the Anycubic doesn't really affect me. So if it starts, I'll start wearing it. If not, I won't. So I suggest that everybody that does not feel too good, though, with the resin smell, definitely wear some kind of a breathing apparatus. So I'm just going to unscrew the build plate here. I'm going to slide this guy right off. Take a look. Like I said, it's had a little bit of time here to run out. This is a hollow model. I hollowed this model with Mesh Mixer, which I've also added to this video, which I'm sure if you got this far, you've probably watched already. And so I didn't really think about it, but when I flipped over the model there, it had a kind of a canoe of resin sitting inside of it. I'm hoping that it doesn't have dry resin inside the model parts. I'm hoping after I cure this, since it's a clear resin, I hope it does a good job at emptying out, but it does look like some of this is going to get caught here. So that's good that we have this paint tray here to capture this. And I'm just going to grab some of these trusty paper towels, and I'll just kind of clean up a bit of the resin off here. I'm almost tempted to work off of the plate here, clean this guy up. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get cut off some of the supports on it, and that'll allow us to get where we need to be. I have the flush cutters here. Let me check out how this is turning out here. Okay, so let me get real fast. I will get the let me change this light a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here. This might get a little bright for you guys, but as I get older, my sight gets a little worse, so hopefully this won't turn out too bad on the video. Alright. Let's see if we can clean this guy up a little bit here. Get some of the basic supports off it before we start trying to remove it from the build plate. So I'm just going to come in here, clean off some of these supports. And it is a lot nicer there, it seems like. One thing you run into with this clear resin is it's really hard to tell what's what when it gets real detailed like that. So I'm going to truthfully, I'm going to run and get my better glasses. So pause the video and I'll be back shortly. I need to be able to see what I'm doing here. Okay, we are back now. I have got my prescription glasses so I can actually see what I'm doing here. And we'll spend a little time cleaning this up. And what I'm doing is I'm just removing all these pieces of support that I added to this model. when we printed it out. And we'll just take off everything we can here. We'll sit and we'll do this for a minute, and then I will pause it so you guys don't have to spend 20 hours with me, and I'll come back after I get most of this cleaned up, show you where we're at with the model, and then I will also we'll go through the process of getting this off of the build plate, and then we will figure out, yeah, some of these supports definitely we didn't want to put where we put them here. We'll get this off of the build plate, and then we'll cure it with alcohol, and we'll prep it, and then tomorrow I'll put it out on my solar display, which is just a little plastic spinning jobby that sits out inside of that sits in the sun, and it'll spin it out in the sun, and I'll let it go for probably a couple hours on this one, as it's pretty thick and it has a lot of resin and possible hollow spots on it that I want that sun to be able to work its way through the model to get rid of. So we'll set this out there and see if we can't get that to cure all of the resin. There's going to be some spots on this model that need probably some sanding and work done to it after we're all said and done here. I'm just trying to get the basic support structure off of this, mostly the automatic supports. You can see the lattice on here, which makes it kind of even easier to get off because you can see the lattice in there. And then some of this is going to be a little bit more technical. You don't really want to leave pop marks on the model, but you can see how it really is a lot easier to cut these things when they're before you cure them under the UV. I tried it on my last one under the UV, and it's just not very pliable. It wants to just snap off and shoot at you at like a little meteor at your eyes or something, and that's a hard way to do it. Plus I had it break off or actually just break a couple little spots on the Mini, take off the little cat's ear, and of course you want to try and maintain the structure of your model first and foremost when doing what we're doing here. There's spots on this model that probably would have been better if I went and I put just automatic supports in, but truthfully I don't have that skill set quite yet, and when I do, I will be doing that. But for right now, these automatic supports are really nice, and they come off rather easy here. Just like I said, you just want to take your time, and you don't want to clip something that you're going to be sad you clipped off and that wasn't supposed to come off, because can't make it grow back once it's gone. I'm going to pause the video now, and I'll come back after I get some more of this, and we can start curing this in the isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so we have this model cleaned up pretty well. It's still really tough to get in there, but the supports came off a lot better pre-cured than post-cured, so I'm still happy with the results here. So what we're going to do now, it's going to be hard to see this thing, but it's really coming out nice. I left the supports on the bottom of it. I'm not going to worry about the ones below the model for now. In case we mess something up, taking them off. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to set this off to the side here, And I'm just going to get our tray ready. So this is the pickle jar I bought the other day. It currently has water in it right now, but I think this model is going to be too big to fit in there. So what I've done is I've grabbed a, which my wife will be super happy about. I grabbed a wonderful Tupperware, and so we're just going to take that Tupperware and we are going to fire it up with some isopropyl alcohol. I have 91%. Everybody says 99%. 91 seemed to work pretty good on the last model. We'll see how it does on this one. I just can't find 99% anywhere. So, and that's right here in Central California. So you'd think it'd be possible. I've been to 25 stores, but maybe it's in high demand. Too many Anycubic Photon owners out there. Okay, so we're getting closer. Quite a bit of alcohol here, but I want to make sure I can cover it. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab another fresh paint tray. I ended up with quite a bit of resin inside that paint tray, so I think it's a goner. Or at least I'm going to need to clean it up really well before I use it again. So let's pop this bad boy open. There we go. Paint trays didn't want to come apart very well. And we will set this right here for now. And we will, I'll take this and move it for later cleanup. I'm going to tools over here for now, which I will clean with these little touchscreen wipe for LCD screens. They're these little wipes that are for iPad and for other kinds of touch screens, and I find they work really good for cleaning up pretty much everything that you're using this resin on. So one thing I'm going to clean here first is I'm just going to go and I'm going to clean off this razor knife I was using to clean up that model. I'll clean up the razor knife, set it back over here. I'll clean up my flush cut cutters real good here, and I just like to keep my tools nice and clean so when I go to use them the next time they're ready to fire up. So okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this little putty knife here. And there's tons of different ways to do this, but I'm just going to drop this guy, get it as low to this as possible so when it falls in here, it won't break anything. And I'm just going to pop this little guy right down into here, and there it goes. And it turns out this thing is, alright, looks like it's covered up in isopropyl, so that's great. So we have it in here now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these wipes now, and I'm just going to clean the heck out of this base plate. Get every bit of resin off of it, make it beautifully shiny and clean. Don't want to leave any of that resin to let harden on anything, or I'm sure you'll have pretty massive problems. So I'm going to take and clean this guy, and I don't know if you can see, but I've put a beautiful red pillowcase over my printer now, just in case any light UV can get through the yellow tinting on it. I put that over it just to keep that resin in a decent shape until I get a chance to get back in there. And I'm just going to reattach my build plate right in there, and I'll put this little pillowcase right back over the top of it. Seems to fit really good, a standard pillowcase, and a dark color works like a charm. And I've been setting that over this thing, and not very fancy, not very high tech, very effective though. And that's what we're going for here, is effective. So let's slide this over. Okay. And so what I'm going to do now is just get my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to, I still have plenty of support down here, and I'm just going to kind of agitate this model a little bit, make sure I get all the areas where we might have some oh wow, I'm seeing something here now. I'm seeing some bubbles inside the two models, which would tell me that there is some, in the hollow spots in there, there's probably some liquid. So at some point in the process here, I might actually have to go ahead and drill these things out and to let the fluid out of the inside of them, if we find there to be any fluid in there. So but I did hollow them, and I am learning, so the odds that possibly we need to do a little bit more finish prep to this guy, very likely. So I'm going to clean off this spatula now that we've used that. I'm going to also set that over here, and we'll just go ahead and use these needle nose to agitate this some more. This model is really looking good. Okay, so I am going to real fast, I'll take the camera, give you a good view of this model sitting from the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish, I'm going to let this, I'm going to take this out of the isopropyl. Like I said, it's not sunny outside, and I don't have a UV set up yet, which I should get set up soon enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this tonight on my workbench here on some paper towels. The isopropyl should dry itself out tonight, and then in the morning I'll set this thing out on a spinner in the sun and let it sit for a couple hours and cure, and then hopefully that'll get at the insides of the hollows, and then we can go from there. I do plan on primering this guy after we get it all set up. So thanks for joining us tonight, and I'm gonna move this camera real fast and see if we can get a good closer shot of this. So let's see what we have here. Let's see. Kinda hard to see, really. Maybe if I set this down here. But it's a pretty awesome looking mini, or piece of art rather. This is really hard to film this. I put some light under it. Hasn't been through the UV yet, but this is just after taking the supports off now. And so I think this model is going to look pretty sweet. So if you guys like this video, please subscribe, click the notification bell, like it, comment on it, give me some advice. All of that is welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, and look forward to printing something else for you. Let me know what you want to see.